Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a hidden epidemic, something that affects almost every single one of us, yet it completely hides in plain sight. You see, our modern sedentary environments are literally forcing our bodies to mechanically adapt, and in the process, it's silently hijacking our nervous systems. We're going to take a really deep, evidence-based look at the incredible interconnected web of your daily posture, your physical pain, and your underlying physiology. So let me ask you a question. Why does sitting at a desk feel like a contact sport? You know the exact feeling I'm talking about. You finish a long day of focused, deep work, and your neck is incredibly stiff. Your shoulders are just aching, and you feel this profound systemic fatigue dragging you down. Now, it is so easy to dismiss this as just, getting older, or maybe just a normal part of the daily grind. But this tension, it's not random at all. It is a highly predictable, structural, and neurological adaptation to your environment. Your body actually isn't failing you here. It's doing exactly what you are training it to do. Let's put this into perspective with a pretty stark statistical reality. Sedentary jobs have increased by 83% since 1950, and the normal office worker, they are now sitting for 15 hours every single day. 15 hours. That is a massive evolutionary mismatch for the human body. By doing this, we're initiating a systemic domino effect in the body that directly impacts our daily energy, our baseline stress levels, our sleep optimization, and ultimately our overall longevity. So here is our syllabus for today's explainer. We'll start with the modern posture epidemic, break down the anatomy of upper cross syndrome, and look at the nervous system connection. After that, we'll explore clinical treatments like dry needling, move into workspace ergonomics, and wrap up with rehabilitation and mindful breathing. All right, let's jump right into section 1, the modern posture epidemic, and why this is way more than just a cosmetic issue. We really need to completely reframe how we think about posture. Clinical data shows that just 3 hours of daily computer exposure is the risk threshold that initiates significant muscular imbalance. 3 hours! And if you're hitting over 42 hours a week, well, you're in the elevated risk category, which actually correlates with high rates of workplace absenteeism. This leads us to the core pathology originally documented by the brilliant Czech physician Vladimir Janda, known as upper crossed syndrome. This is a highly predictable, crossed pattern of muscle imbalances. It happens when the human frame literally morphs under the continuous strain of digital overload, prolonged sitting, and constant cell phone usage. Your body is physically restructuring itself to accommodate the screen. Which brings us to section 2, the anatomy of upper crossed syndrome, often referred to as the X pattern. Let's look under the hood at the literal X pattern that's crossing your upper body. Think of it like a massive anatomical tug-of-war. The postural muscles on the back of your neck, specifically the upper trapezius and levator scapulae, become hypertonic. That means they are constantly tight and overactive, and they cross pathologically with the tight muscles on the front of your chest, your pectorals. Conversely, your dynamic stabilizing muscles, like the deep cervical flexors in the front of your neck and the lower trapezius and serratus anterior in your mid-back, they become lengthened, weak, and inhibited. So your body is physically locked in a forward-pulling vice, while the very muscles meant to hold you upright have essentially gone to sleep. Now for the really fascinating part. Section 3, the nervous system connection and Sherrington's law. Here is where we shift away from basic biomechanics and get into some profound neurological consequences. The absolutely crucial concept here is Sherrington's law of reciprocal inhibition. Basically, this neurological law states that chronic overactivity in those tight, dominant muscles reflexively suppresses the neurological drive to your weakened muscles. The brain is sending a continuous inhibitory signal. It's literally blocking them. This is exactly why you cannot simply just tell yourself to sit up straight or try to strengthen your weak back muscles at the gym. The neuromuscular pathway is reflexively blocked by those tight chest and neck muscles. You have to release the tension first before you can even begin to rebuild the strength. And here is the cascading domino effect that turns a simple mechanical issue into a systemic, full-body health crisis. Your hunched posture physically compresses your rib cage, right? This naturally restricts your diaphragm from expanding. But because your body obviously still needs oxygen, it's forced to shift to a shallow chest breathing pattern. To physically pull air into those upper lungs, you have to overuse accessory respiratory muscles, which are the exact neck and shoulder muscles that are already chronically tight. This creates severe muscle fatigue and local lactic acid buildup. But here's the real kicker. Your brain interprets these disrupted breathing rhythms and nerve signals as a state of chronic threat. It locks you into the sympathetic nervous system, that classic fight-or-flight stress state. This constant sympathetic dominance completely fragments your sleep architecture, ruins your sustained attention for deep work, and fundamentally compromises your micromental health. Everything is connected. So, how do we fix it? Let's move to Section 4, Clinical Treatments, specifically looking at dry needling. How do we actually break this neurological lock? Well, clinicians use precise tools to assess what are known as myofascial trigger points. These are hyper-irritable spots that get completely locked up in the muscle tissue. One highly effective clinical intervention to stop this cycle of reciprocal inhibition is dry needling. A practitioner uses a tiny 32-gauge needle to physically disrupt these active trigger points. By mechanically stimulating the muscle like this, it stretches out the contracted cellular structures, allowing the muscle fibers to finally return to their optimal resting length. Plus, it drastically increases local blood flow, which washes out all those accumulated inflammatory chemicals that have been relentlessly bombarding your nervous system with pain signals. And the clinical evidence for this is incredibly compelling. In a controlled study on dry needling in the upper trapezius, 41 out of 52 subjects saw their active, spontaneously painful trigger points transition to latent, meaning they only hurt when actively pressed, or they just completely resolved altogether. Now, this physical reset isn't just about pain relief. It's associated with significant improvements in overall mood, daily function, and even the mental health subscales of clinical assessments. It's a really powerful, direct tool to reset your physical baseline. But treatments are only half the battle. Let's look at Section 5, Ergonomic Workspace Optimization, Stopping the Cycle. Because, listen, a clinical reset is only temporary if you just go right back to the exact same environment that caused the injury in the first place. So here is your practical, everyday ergonomic blueprint to stop these environmental stressors. First off, there is a massive misconception that standard office desks are built for the average person. They absolutely aren't. They usually sit at 29.5 inches high, which actually corresponds to the seated elbow height of a 6'4" male. If you are shorter than that, you are constantly shrugging your shoulders just to reach your keyboard, which keeps your upper traps in constant contraction. To fix this, your elbows must rest at a 90 to 100-degree angle. Bring the floor up to your feet with a stool if you have to. Next, your monitor needs to be an arm's length away, with the top of the screen right at eye level, so you're glancing down with your eyes, not your neck. Protect your visual focus and cognitive endurance with the 20-20-20 rule. Every 20 minutes, look 20 feet away for 20 seconds. And finally, because sitting puts the absolute greatest compressive load on your lower back, you must alternate sitting and standing throughout the day. Finally, we reach Section 6, Rehabilitation and Mindful Breathing. Now that we've optimized the external environment, we have to actively restore your body's coordinated movement patterns. Based on Vladimir Jonda's framework, once you release the tight muscles, you must stretch the anterior chain and strengthen those posterior stabilizers. Wall angels are phenomenal for this. They force your mid-back into extension and improve your mobility. Classic doorway stretches will pull those chronically tight pectorals open. From there, you re-engage the weakened muscles with shoulder blade squeezes to hit the rhomboids and deep cervical flexion, which are just simple chin tucks, to build endurance back into the deep muscles of the neck. This routine physically pulls your skeletal structure right back out of that upper crossed X pattern. But to truly heal and reclaim your cognitive bandwidth for deep work, we have to talk directly to the nervous system. Consciously shifting to diaphragmatic breathing is literally the ultimate physiological brake on your body's stress response. Here is the clinical protocol. Place one hand on your chest and one on your belly. Inhale for a quiet count of 4, expanding the belly out like a balloon. The chest shouldn't move at all. Pause. Then exhale slowly through pursed lips for a count of 8. Now, why a longer exhale? Physiologically, creating that negative intrathoracic pressure pulls blood back to the heart, increasing your stroke volume. This stretches your arterial baroreceptors, which immediately spikes your parasympathetic vagal activity. It lowers your heart rate, reduces circulating stress hormones, and drops the muscle guarding in your neck. This is exactly how you reclaim your micromental health, regulate your systemic stress, and optimize your brain function. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final, really important thought. I want you to pause right now, just in this exact moment. Are your shoulders creeping up toward your ears? Is your breath trapped high up in your chest? Your neurological health, your ability to focus, the quality of your sleep, and your physical comfort, they are entirely interconnected. It's a complete ecosystem. By taking control of your mechanical posture and your breath, you aren't just fixing a little shoulder pain. You are taking the wheel of your entire nervous system. The tools to optimize your health span are right in front of you. So, how are you going to set up your workspace tomorrow?